What I'd like to show you are Apollo photographs, Apollo 16 and Apollo 17, and I will show you what has been hidden from our site. These were photographs that were taken by the Apollo metric camera, and they show towers on the moon, and as I call it, a constellation of space stations. And I will also show you the equivalent of fighters or Star Wars types of fighters that were buzzing our astronauts and warned us off the moon. This is a photograph from the Apollo 14 mission, a surface photo, and I found it in the Apollo 14 catalog. And what drew my attention to it was that there were two photographs of the same rock, one before the other, or one after the other. And I saw why should they take two pictures of the same rock. So when I compared them, I found that the astronaut had apparently seen something very important in the background, and that's what I'm going to show you now, which is that he captured a very unusual UFO in the background, which I'll show you. Right.
This is from the Apollo mission.
Apollo 14 mission. All the Apollo missions photographed these objects.
Before we were chased off the moon.
And they are what chased us off the moon. Okay. Let me put this in the center and get it just a little bigger. Now this is an object that I actually have been tracking around the moon in a lot of photographs over many years. The first time I saw this object was in a photograph taken by an astronomer in 1959. In 1959 I heard a story as a child, schoolyard story at noon. My friend Dennis came up to me and said, "Robert, did you hear an astronomer in New Jersey saw flying saucers coming off the moon last night?" I said, "Really?" And he said, "Yeah, and he took a picture." I said, "Wow." He said, "I'll probably be on TV tonight." So we were glued to the television set for 5 days in a row, hoping that they would show it. Never showed up. 45 years later, while exploring the Blue Book files, I found the photograph.
What were the Blue Book files?
Blue Book was the official U.S. Air Force investigation into UFOs, called flying saucers in those days. But then they changed it to UFOs. So in that file I found the photograph that had been taken by the astronomer Jesse Wilson, and I recognized this object is the same one in that. Now let me say what Jesse Wilson's photograph shows. It shows this object holding station like a space station, and about 34 UFOs rising off the surface of the moon like a fleet passing in review of the space station. So let me give you a nice effect that we can do with this, which is you're close and then we go whoop.
Oh, you don't even see it from there.
Well, that's why it takes a special kind of eyesight, and I have very, very good eyesight. I have very quick eyes. I can see things that are not visible to other people because I've been trained to see things in 1/24th of a second. It's just a gift. I have the gift, and I share what I find, because these photographs, as I said to you before the interview, these photographs belong to the American people. This was our project. The American people paid for it, and the American people should know what's going on the moon. So that's the first one. I'm going to show you a couple of more, even more impressive things. Let's go on. Let me show you something interesting. This is a photo from Google Moon. Notice this unusual shape. It looks like an island. Now the reason I'm interested in this photo is that I found an Apollo photo of the same area. It's in a color photo. I'll show you it to you in a second. It took me years to find the number of this photograph. I found this many, many years ago. Apollo 14 photograph, but there was no number. And it took me years of going through the archives before I found out that it's in Apollo 14 magazine 74, photo 10,211. And as a result, I was able to identify the photo. These marks here often obstruct the view of objects that are photographs. For example, these crosses and the dashes cut across this. So what I did is, using computer graphic technology, I took out the dashes and the crosses so we could see the contour of that island. What better word can I have for it? It's also very unusual in that it's green. It's got a color. And that's another thing that's been kept from the American people, and that is the true colors of the moon. Now, this is an enhanced photo that I did because in the Apollo 14 catalog, this photo is totally black. And there are a lot of those. And I would recommend to any lunar researcher, person interested in this, as you go through the Apollo catalogs, when you see a black, totally black photo, download that photo and do what I do. Improve the gamma, elevate the gamma, the brightness, and work with the contrast, and then you can make the image come up. So as I said, it went from totally black to this. And what we have here is the original of that close-up. And I'll show you what I mean here. And here's the crosshairs that is used to aim. See? These are the crosses that I said I removed.
And this was a black photo before.
It was totally black. And I was able to improve the quality of the lighting to this level to see that it is the same island, it is the same object. Look at the color. There are
it's
many,
something green living there.
Green. Well, something green grows there. Well, we're seeing now with
Could be their food source.
Well, I don't think they eat like we do.
What do you think they eat, by the way?
I'd rather not say it this time. I'll tell you, I'll only say this. Philip Morrison and Carl Sagan had a little giggle in 1978 in an interview about the possible physical characteristics of aliens, and they laughed and they said, they're probably not going to be like human beings, and in fact they could be very much like mushrooms. Ha 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 ha. And it was an in-joke, but it was a serious statement. So I'll leave it at that.
Which means what?
Which means they could be like mushrooms. Remember the movie The Thing? The Thing was an alien, but it was more of a vegetable nature than carnal nature. But let's go back and compare the island shape. You see, the Google moon base. This person unwittingly discovered the same place on the moon, because
and it's up high in this one.
Well, this is because the camera angle is much lower, and also this is 44 years, 42 years after that other photo that I've shown you. So let me show you what I consider to be my favorite UFO photo. This came from Australia, and one can find it at ufoevidence.org. Let me zoom in on the UFO first so you can get a good view of its shape. One of the things I do is I track particular types of UFOs. I look for photographs that show the same UFO in different eras, different years, in different regions of the world, and then I plot its track, where it was. For example, I found this type of UFO was active near Los Angeles and Malibu in 1991, and then I found this photograph of it that was taken in Australia in 1992. You can find the original, as I said, at ufoevidence.org. But let me show you why I think this is my favorite photograph. I'm going to show you. There are two UFOs in this picture. Can you see the other one? The other UFO is over here. You think you can identify it? Let me show you what it is. I always trick people. I say the other UFO, just to see if your perceptions are right. Can you identify it yet?
Oh, I see it.
Right. This was one of the biggest surprises of my life. It's not a UFO. It's a cow. Oh, it's a trick question. I ask people if they can see the other UFO. because this is very small under the big UFO. But the actual fact is that's a cow.
It's lifting up in the air
A
a cow.
Remember I talked to you about cattle mutilations? How do you think they get the cow?
That is a cow.
That is a cow. Now here's a very interesting thing. In the enhancements that I've done of this photo, the body of the cow, you see the marks, are focused, but the head and the legs are fuzzy. And that's because the cow is trying to run in the air. It doesn't know what's happening to it. It's being levitated into a UFO. And so the long-standing stories of UFO cattle mutilations. An Australian farmer caught this photo in 1992, and it frightened him very, very deeply. And you can read what he wrote about this photo if you go to ufoevidence.org and go into their photos section and look for Asia and Australia. You'll find this photo.